Sure. Thank you, Subhajit, and thank you, India Insurtech Association, for inviting me. And let me first start with my introduction. I'm Mangesh Vaitla. I'm a co-founder of C2L BIZ Solutions, and I'm primarily responsible for its growth globally. And over the years, I have been involved in a lot of insurance distribution and insurance transformations for over 2 decades. Coming to C2L BIZ, yes, at C2L BIZ has had over a decade plus journey, founded with a vision to be a partner of choice for all leading global insurers. And as a primary focus, we have worked to date, we have worked with 40 plus insurers globally, and, which also helps nearly 25 plus bank partners and many more insurers. About 600 odd products are being used by all these agents as well for selling across these 25 insurers. Other IP that I would, which is our critical flagship, is Symbiosis Distribution Management, which also has made a huge impact. Nearly 3 million plus pays getting processed across nearly 16 odd insurers over there, and that also on an annually about 10 million plus policy transaction related compensation get processed on a recurring basis. So that's another very impactful proposition from C2L BIZ to the industry.
Start off with possibly one of the biggest learnings that you can share for our audience, given that a lot of the younger folks are starting their journey in the Insurtech space. What would you like to share, a story of yours that might show the path for the younger folks?
Let's start with the learnings on a failure front, where we have always failed and persistently that puts us to look towards improvements in those areas. Is the area to convince the industry to go for a buy approach for an IP versus a build approach. And that's where you find always most of the insurtechs will struggle initial years. In spite of having the highest of configurabilities in our solution, yet there was always a resistance to buy, and there was always a preference to build. And in turn, when we look at the industry across the period, we find that whoever went for a build approach actually landed up with more loss of control because they were dependent on few individuals within the company who would at times leave the company stranded. Or second is that another reason possibly could be the excessive focus on the user interface, that everybody was in an awe that the adoption would be lower if the user interface is not correct. And that also led to a lot of build approach in the industry, which we were trying to convince that it is not as much, that the focus should be equally on the enterprise architecture. With the evolution of the digital ecosystem, the handshakes with the external world, the right architecture or the configurability time to market, but we more equally are impactful for your business. And those are the areas we also found that were the reasons where insurers went for a build approach. And third, I would like to highlight is a little lateral slide point, is that an excessive focus or a misunderstanding industry to use agile as a methodology, which we have learned a lot. And we have ensured that we stay away from all these pitfalls or mistakes and try to ensure that we provide sustainable solutions to this. So these approaches helped us, and today help us in these failures, in ability to convince the industry, ability to go for a buy, made us believe more strongly in our IP.
A little deeper, what you just mentioned is a problem faced by a lot of insurtechs trying to give their technology to insurers, right? So when you still face it, what is your first go-to strategy to try and convince the other party to explore another option?
Times it's a very hard concept selling, and in terms of that concept selling, you will have to give a lot of conviction to the customer, and the Insurtech jargon could also mean sandboxing at times to provide a solution to try out or a model of this in those areas. So those have to be ready. In our case, like as I said, we are ready with 16 microservices, so which were earlier larger IPs end-to-end suite. But at the same time today, for helping insurers adopt more easily, we have granularized the microservices to such an extent that a customer can come to us and say that I want to use insurer incentive as a service, with a plethora of microservices option which tailored to industry. So that is an area I would urge Insurtech to look at, that potentially you can look at granularizing the offering so that you have a good foot in the door, address the pain point that the insurer is immediately challenged with, and then convince him with a better usable proposition to expand. And most of our cases, it has been that way.
With that, why don't we talk about a use case where you took this approach and it worked very well, and maybe one of the top insurers you have helped so well that they have become a trusted customer and have been with you. So any examples on those?
Yeah, there are quite a few in that. Subhajit, actually, in terms of if I take for the distribution performance capability, we experimented and kept on learning, and immense learning, and learning in the Indian market, learning globally. And you see the challenges faced by the insurance globally in terms of a distribution performance. That adds to a huge complexity in terms of the ability to manage the distribution performance. So we have ensured here we learned a lot in terms of not only having the unique KPIs for the insurance industry, but provisioning them to adapt to these new age parameters. Keeping those parameters, we have been able to enhance and improve the system to provide a holistic solution. Second is the channel heads also many times would want to have a decision support system to make faster and effective decisions, and those are not available. So these are the areas we have ensured that we learned continuously and kept an open mind to evolve. Kind of innovative capabilities we kept on learning in the distribution performance management with new KPIs.
Could you share some specific numbers in the distribution performance module you talked about, whereby you were able to change efficiency or able to help them in some way, but hard numbers from a particular use case?
Yes, in fact, this customer that I was talking about, their distribution performance, the operations cost nearly dropped down by nearly 50% in that time span, that in a year that we implemented it. The other area was even in the area of them ability to launch a new schemes that dropped by nearly about 80% because they were taking a lot of time, nearly about two months in launching certain new schemes, which they were able to do it in a matter of weeks or days.
Let's talk on these numbers. One number you gave in this particular example, from 2 months, it went down to at least a couple of weeks and sometimes even days. That was launched to time. You said a reduction of costs of 50%. Any sense you could give us the magnitude of the reduction of costs we are talking about here?
What happened is that when I say the costs were reduced, or the time was reduced from 2 weeks, at times the 2 weeks was a project for most of the a large project that they would take, initiate, get multiple vendors to onboard onto that. Here the time to market for them to launch a channel at times was just cloning the existing channel, because they had one bank partner already which was implemented. For them, just had to clone the structure, replicate the structure, get the Excel of that structure to the partner. Partner gave all the data, just upload it in the system, and it was there in a matter of days. With this, now it was a matter of just testing it, verifying it that all the structures are right, and launching the typical the commission structures and the incentive structure, which was again there were ready schemes, so they could clone it, and it was a matter of days over there. So that kind of which otherwise for them in the older system, creating a structure itself was a nightmare. And it is not only the time to market of the 2 months creeping down to few days, but also in terms of the providing more view or managing the monitoring channels much more effectively, providing incentives for the managers. So the entire efficiency of the structure of the bank partnership was scaled up hugely, actually.
Thank you so much, Mangesh. It was a great chat. Thanks